The AQ War effort is renowned as one of the greatest events in gaming history. With classic WoW, players were able to relive the glory on official servers, and we can now answer the question, is the event still as good today as it was then? The opening of the gates of Ahn'Qiraj was pretty much the thing that I was looking forward to most with classic WoW. It's now happened on my server, it's done, so let's talk about it. Patch 1.9 was massive and involved a huge set of changes for vanilla WoW back in the day. Paladin blessings were made less bad, but still annoying as hell. Tier 2 finally stopped looking like questing greens, and you could now queue for 2 battlegrounds at once. Wow, I know. Players knew a patch with more raid content had to be coming soon, but nobody was able to predict the scope of what was to come. Dropping with 2 potential raid instances was unheard of and still would only ever happen in less than a handful of patches throughout WoW's history. The war effort was the key player here though. Having the Alliance and Horde funnel different materials into supply caravans in capital cities really made the whole thing feel like, well, a real war. Then, of course, the Scepter of the Shifting Sands would need to be crafted. The insane questline behind this item would lead to massive efforts to make sure that at least one person would be able to wield the staff and ring the gong, signaling the start of the war and opening the gates to Ahn'Qiraj itself. With the whole server outside the gates ready to see what's inside, it was shocking and devastating to everyone to have insanely powerful Anubisath and Karaji pouring out of the city, killing everyone in their path. As a grueling 10 hours of intense battle continued, the enemies would only get stronger and stronger as the players grew fatigued, until finally the dust settled and everyone realized that the guild who rung the gong just ran past everything to jump into the raid portal, leaving the server to fend for itself. I don't really want to go too much into the nitty-gritty detail of the Ahn'Qiraj event. That's not the point of this video. The social consequences for this event, they would last years, decades later. Servers and communities would remember names, they would remember circumstances and these minor things to the event, and that's really impressive here. Gaming never pulled off anything so epic. So why do I feel so bummed out the second time? I wish I had a more interesting conclusion to come to here, but I don't. Honestly, doing the war effort and being there for the gates opening again was nostalgic. Back in vanilla, we the players had very little clue on how this would all play out. We didn't know where the event would lead. We had no clue the Scepter of the Shifting Sands would eventually lead to a mount and a title come Burning Crusade. Even some Scarab Lords themselves had very little clue what was going on, other than clearly getting this item would be needed, and it was prestigious to be the only one and most powerful player to get it done. I remember playing back on Mal'Ganis in vanilla, hearing the gates were opened finally, and it was done by the famous Gurgthok of elitist jerks. Years later, that same player would become the game director for World of Warcraft itself. Around that same time, another player on the Eridar server would be ringing the gong as well. Aganathir, raid leader of Paradox, would become a legend that day. Years later, he would become the game director for Destiny, and still puts Scarab Lord in his email signature to this day. The same man, Luke Smith, openly admitted that looting the head from Broodlord Lashlair was simply to complete a quest, and he had no idea what the consequences would be. Doing this event again, though, I felt let down and rather disappointed. I've come to the conclusion that something to this scale, something this legendary, it can't be done twice. Players organized who the Scarab Lords would be before Classic even launched. Servers had all of the materials ready before the patch even came around. Guilds and players organized farming rotations in order to expedite process through the chain. Honestly, what made the opening of the gates of Ahn'Qiraj legendary was the mysticism surrounding it. This unknown evil was breaking into the world as it whispered to you in Silithus, chaotically throwing as many materials to the war effort with blind understanding of what was to come can't exist if we've done it before. We the players knew every step of what was to come the day Classic WoW launched. Yet, the reason this was one of the most important events in gaming, well, it was because back then no one knew what lied next each step of the way. The mysticism was truly magical and created truly emergent gameplay. I don't want it to sound like I'm belittling those who ranked the Gong in Classic. The social management and requirements to ensure it all happened is truly impressive. Yet as a player who wanted to experience it all again, this is the largest moment that made me realize that no changes just might not work. The opening of the gates in vanilla was a beautifully crafted server-wide surprise. Unfortunately, I just knew the surprise was coming this time. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Gently caress that like button and give that little sub button a little kick if you want to. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Have a good one. And for the rest of you, I'll see you all in Azeroth, World of Warcraft, or what other games we're playing. Bye-bye.